Um, Good evening. Welcome to another episode of the Fomoball podcast. We have a new member today. He's basically risen from a year-long hiding. It's a Real Madrid fan. He's also a Karthik, a good friend of mine. This episode is being shot after the El Clásico, where Barcelona were handed their, I should say, their most humiliating L of the season. Even though Sevilla beat them 4-1, I think this was more humiliating. So, anyways, we also have Liverpool's Vibhas here, who's not having the best of times. Probably the last year would have been amazing for him because pretty much they were pretty much going into every game thinking they're gonna win. Unfortunately, this year that itself is a big question. And let's talk about Chelsea at the end. I mean, ideally, I don't want to talk about it because we literally lost to Sunderland, who we beat before sending them back out of the Premier League. I mean, it's just a full circle moment for Sunderland. But anyways, like that was a disappointing loss. So let's first start with the El Clasico, and then we'll move on to the other stories. So Real Madrid beat Barcelona 2-1, but if I'm being very honest, the score should have been 5-1 or at least 4-1. A couple of
No,
offside
okay.
goals and so a couple of offside goals and a brilliant save from Chesney here and there. That was the scoreline. But what do you think could have been the?
No, okay. So, I think, the first thing that you need to, start here to understand is that, if I'm not wrong, we Real Madrid fans, majorly, we were, in fact, silent for almost one whole year. And I agree, the whole, period which Carlo Ancelotti faced in the last season was entirely different. Like, majority of the main players were never, present. If I'm not wrong, Tchouaméni almost played six different positions in that entire year. So, and Shumeni is not someone who is able to, adapt a lot, like Kamavinga, for instance. So, what really was, something that changed a lot, like one of the most key aspect which a lot of people wouldn't have realized from Carlo Ancelotti to Xabi Alonso is how Xabi Alonso incorporated a high line into Real Madrid in the first place. Because as far as I have seen, in the last 10 years, I haven't seen Real Madrid being, a team that plays with a high line and also that plays with a lot of high press, which was visually evident in, the second half of the El Clasico majorly. Because if you see in the second half, Barcelona started to play, the usual La Masia game style, which was countered by Real Madrid's high press, if I'm not wrong. And while it was not done to its fullest effect, obviously, because at the end of the Real Madrid has never been a high press team for a long time. Obviously, because if you have players like Cruz and Modric who cannot sustain a high press for a very long time, it's not possible to incorporate that tactic. So it was very surprising, to see Real Madrid initially change. And I think this 2-1 result technically was probably a very good result because, if I'm not wrong, when the Club World Cup started this year and when Real Madrid played against PSG, I think we lost 4-0. And at that time, I guess the major loopholes that what might happen if Xabi brings his style of play into Real Madrid. Because as far as I have seen, I have followed Real Madrid for almost a decade. I think Real Madrid, while I wouldn't say they don't follow, an approach. I think it is a team that, familiarizes a lot of individual brilliance. Like we can start counting in our hands like the number of matches that Madrid have won just because of individual brilliance. Like take it from the Ronaldo era, after which Benzema was doing good for a while, then it was Vinicius for a while. So this, was, if I'm not wrong, like the first season after a very long time, probably even after, after Jose Mourinho left, I'm seeing Madrid play, with the tactic. Like it is not just, I'm not saying that they don't depend on individual brilliance anymore, but I think Madrid is, slowly adapting into uh, a style where there is some high press, there is some positional play, which is generally not Madrid at all. Because if you ask me right now, also if you ask me, are you in support of this tactic? I would still say I'm surprised of this tactic because I would never see Madrid play in a tactical approach. Rather, it has been a team that has always preferred an individual, like I would call it as a calm dominance, which Madrid tend to establish in every match that I have seen right now, unless they play the simpler teams in La Liga. Uh, the next thing I would probably say, which was the major reason for this win, was I think it was not surprising to see, Barcelona's performance in this match because I believe that if a team has prioritized high line, high press as its strategy, only on very rare occasions, if I'm not wrong, it has worked out well in like in the upcoming season. Like if you incorporate it in one season, I haven't seen a lot of team having continuous success with the same. Like because high line hyper is it is something that like it goes through. It can like happen continuously only if you have that experience in the back. Only if you have that continuous energy around your team. I think this can be, like when Leeds won their Premier League, if I'm not wrong, the very next season Leeds started to flop. Leeds didn't have a very good season, and if I'm not wrong, they got relegated the very next year itself. Because I think the energy that you need to use for high press is going to be very difficult, and I think it has started to happen for Barcelona this year because the number of injuries that they are facing through, and with Inigo Martinez also leaving them, I don't see there being a leader who's going to like take care of that high line for Barca right now. I think there is the same scenario. I mean, not exactly the same scenario right now for Liverpool as well, if I'm not wrong, because even Liverpool, which is a team that plays a high line right now, even with the presence of a good leader like Van Dijk, I think the high line is starting to get exploited by every other team.
That's actually a thing. I mean, your highlight point is very sort of valid. Not just Liverpool. There are multiple examples, and if you think of it, there is a reason why people like Klopp and Pep also evolved from that highlight strategy. When we talk about a peak Klopp team, it's probably 18, 19, 19, 20, which was the heavy metal. But after that, injuries. We had that disastrous 2020-21 season, COVID season, which was plagued by injuries to our backline and a midfield. That was because, and people would have heard, been saying that, Klopp, if you are playing for a Klopp team, your career is 5 years shorter. So that is a thing. Eventually, even Klopp after 2021, 2022, the season we went for a quadruple charge but did not get it, he ended up changing his tactics because when he rebuilt his midfield with McAllister, Szoboszlai, and Gravenberch. That's not a viable strategy for a long-term project. Even Pep, 18, 19, 17, 18, the Centurion season when he had Sane and everyone on the wings, and also too, that was a season where everyone was pressing. Now see what Pep is doing 7 years later. Uh, Arsenal, not exactly, but to an extent, I remember the first season Arsenal challenged for the title, 2022-23.
Yeah.
They were a very, very, very exciting team to watch. Very, very exciting team to watch. And compare that to what we've been seeing the last 2 years. So yeah, there are certain disadvantages of high press which outweigh the advantages in a long-term scenario, and injuries is one of the biggest one. And I think that's happening to Barca with their midfield, with Pedri, Gavi, with their centre backs also. And the other extreme unsuccessful example of a high press not being a sustainable thing in the Premier League is Spurs and Ange. Ange, because if you remember when Ange came to Spurs, the first 6 months he was on a roll. The first 6 months was one of the best football Spurs has played in ages since Poch, right? Since their UCL dream run. But then it tapered out. There were other reasons that because Ange is also a very coach who does not like to change. But apart from that, if you look at last season, more than half of the team was injured. Ange came to Forest. Within 3 matches, half their backline was injured. So, and is another extreme who is not at all pragmatic. So, yeah, that is a thing I think that's happening to Barca too, which does mean that what Karthik is talking about, Madrid changing their tactics. Let's see how sustainable that. It's not as high metal and as high press as Barca or someone, but let's see if Xabi can, continue with that. The good thing with Madrid here is that they have a player who's made to play that, who is currently injured, who I have come to terms with leaving Liverpool now. So, but Trent is someone who thrives in that kind of system what Xabi Alonso is playing right now. So, yeah, he was injured, he did not play, but when he does get fully integrated into this team, I think he will be one of the Madrid's important players, right? Especially with Vinicius creating tantrums right now. So, yeah.
No, but the difference in El Clasico was simply that Xabi's idea of how to proceed with the game, and Flick's idea how to proceed with the game. That was the only difference. Because I think even if you have a high line, if like last year also Barcelona did have a high line, but I mean you had a player like Inigo who understood how to
Yeah, yeah,
catch
yeah,
players
yeah.
offset.
Yeah, see that
Yeah,
like I told the Inigo's presence, and if you see, like Ancelotti tried to, like high press Barca, but I don't think you
Yeah.
can high press with players like Kroos, Modric in your team who are like in their late
Yeah, the,
30s.
the, the one
Yeah.
time he tried to high press Barca, they lost badly.
Yeah,
I
like I
remember.
mean, we no no we tried to high press them 4 times in that year and we got
Yeah,
thrashed four
yeah,
times.
Yeah.
It, but one more thing which I would like when like when people told that this should have been probably a 4-1 or a 5-1. I think that it would have probably been a 4-3 or a 5-4 because I think Barcelona had two to three very good opportunities. But
Yeah.
again, I would tell it for like two reasons. One is the player made bad decisions. And the second thing is probably the Bernabeu noise, which is the special effect of Real Madrid. I mean, like, yeah, that's
Uh,
like because I think Barcelona did have really good chances in the second half, especially if I'm not wrong. There were like two shots from Fermin Lopez, which went straight to Courtois' hand. Like those were shots that I thought it's going to like like change the match into Barca's favor. And in all honesty, I think while Real Madrid, like it was very surprising for a team like Real Madrid, like like have like an entire team on defense. Like
yeah.
while people questioned, like including myself, was surprised when Xabi removed Vinicius and put in Rodrigo. And I think Vinicius' reaction was a bit exaggerated. But
Yes.
if someone comes in, we'll probably have that as the next topic. But I think that the decision of doing that was completely justified when, if I'm not wrong, a couple of balls which was played through Lamine in the left wing, and after, I mean, after like the 80th minute, Lamine started like roam the entire pitch, given he wanted to like make some noise in the pitch for the noise he made outside the pitch, but sadly he was not able to make it. So if you see there are like a couple of balls for which Rodrigo was the one who dragged back Lamine, like till the end of the corner flag itself, if I'm not wrong. So that's when I realized that okay, which indeed brought in a lot of fear as well. Like I thought going through a complete defensive approach might get a draw for Barca in that match. But yeah, good job to our
So
team.
yeah,
We
two things like Kaushik was mentioning about Inigo Martinez. So yeah, I think that is another factor that comes into playing high press teams. You need one guy who can be that fall guy. Liverpool had Fabinho, City had Fernandinho, and obviously Barca till last season had Inigo Martinez. You need a destroyer role, so to say, right? And Liverpool also had Van Dijk, which is a different issue right now. But anyway, second part being the Vinicius thing. Yeah, tactically getting Rodrigo probably made sense, and I agree here that Vinicius is probably not just used to being subbed out, because with when it was Ancelotti, except the last two seasons till 2023, he was the main man. Even with after Benzema
Mm.
left for 2 years, he was the main man, right? And even when Benzema was there, once Vinicius had hit his stride, he's not used to being subbed out at 60th minute or something like that. Does that mean that reaction? Obviously, that's a little over the top. But banter apart, I would not be reading too much into it. It's not as if that means that Vinicius will. He might leave for other reasons. They Real might sell him for other reasons. He might want to leave for other reasons, whatever. But this won't be the reason that he acted out. Obviously, if it continues, it's another issue, right? But I do think that tactically it made sense, and Vinicius is probably not used to being. It's like Salah right now. It's a different scenario with Salah. Obviously, Salah is not acting out because he also realizes he's 33. But till now, till before this season, whenever the rare instance we have had Salah being subbed out, Salah did not have a very good reaction to being subbed out ever. Ever.
Mm.
Before the 80th minute, obviously. After the 80th minute, it does not matter. Be it with Klopp, be it once with Slot, or be it. I remember Klopp's last season, people were talking about maybe they have a rift because Klopp subbed him out after the 60th minute just because he just come back from injury. So there are players, they do not like to be, especially forwards, they do not like to be subbed out especially when they feel they're the main man of the team. The only difference I feel is Salah, we can call him the main man of the team last season. I don't think Vinicius is the main man of the team in Madrid, especially with Mbappe there. That's the difference. And I don't know if he's come to terms with that. So,
but
yeah.
in all honesty, I think I mean while Mbappe scored the goals, but I think one of the major reasons why Madrid played such a good game yesterday was, like Vinicius' presence in the field.
Yeah, no,
Like,
no, no doubt. Vinicius played really well.
like,
I'm just talking about,
and
from
yeah,
a
the
squad
whole
point of
clash
view.
of, I mean, that's like every time problem that happens in Madrid and Barcelona, like when Messi and Neymar existed, when Ronaldo Bale was there in Madrid. This is something Madrid will face, and I think with Vinicius, like especially, I still believe that Rodri winning the Ballon d'Or wasn't fair. Not just because I'm a Madrid fan, but I still feel that without Rodri, also City plays good football. It's not like City plays bad football. And City is not a team that depends on individual brilliance. City is a team that rather brilliance on tactical approach, especially under Pep. So that being said, I think the whole season, wherein like especially since the start of this season, I think Vinicius is coming back to his good form. Like after having a dip of form after the Ballon d'Or last year, after a couple of years back, subbing him off in the 60th minute, I think his reaction was justified. And while people might tell that he might leave the team, and that is the like one of the thing that made him will make him do that is this incident. I don't think because the moment the referee blew the whistle, I think the first one to step in and stand for the team was Vinicius. If I'm not wrong, when Yamal showed his back to
Yeah,
Courtois, it
yeah,
was
yeah.
Vinicius who went and confronted him. So I think that this shouldn't be an incident which should
Yeah, see,
bring out a
the
lot of.
only issue is that, when there are multiple strong personalities in a team, there is someone who has to be the selfless guy. In BBC era, it was Benzema. If you look at Liverpool when they had Salah, Mane, and Firmino, it was Firmino, right? So the thing is right now with when you have Mbappe, Vinicius, and Bellingham, I don't see either of them. To be fair, Bellingham is the most likely to take a back role, and he kind of has back role, not in the sense of contribution to the team, but the who gets the more clicks. Like if you remember the first season of Bellingham, he was very effectively playing as a 10 or a shadow striker or whatever you want to call it. He was the main man. That was before Mbappe came in, right? But I don't think Bellingham had a problem adapting to being slightly out of the spotlight. So that I mean, I'm not saying it's the end of the world for Madrid or something like that, but it'll be interesting to see how Xabi manages that because there might have been multiple criticisms of Carlo Ancelotti, but one thing he did very well was manage egos in a dressing room. And let's see how Xabi Alonso does that.
No, the thing
And
is, the score also made a difference. Like if it was 3-1, I don't think the substitution could have happened because the cushion would have been there. Because
exactly.
2-1, it makes absolute sense, right? You're just
Yeah, he wanted a little more to be a little more defensive, I guess.
and
And
also he did the same thing. I don't know if you guys noticed, but Carvajal was supposed to come in much earlier, maybe 60th minute or something. And then
Yeah, when
I think
Carvajal got pissed a bit that he
he
was
got
not
pissed.
introduced
But
earlier.
so that's what Xavi doesn't make the substitution. I mean, he wanted to bring Carvajal earlier, but then he knew the player could continue, so he brought him on 10 minutes later. Speaking of which, we need to speak about this. Do you guys think that the Spanish national team has now got a problem? Because their best player
Um,
and their captain have an open
to
feud
be
going on right now.
fair, Kaushik, the thing is, right? Yeah, Carvajal is their captain, but I think Carvajal got some kind of injury again, if I'm not wrong. Yeah, after that match or something. My point is, how much is Carvajal going to play for Spain anymore? That's the first question is that. And no, dude, peak El Clasicos, you had Ramos and PK clashing butts with each other in the El Clasico
Dude,
and going back to the national team
you have
and
you have
being
had
best friends.
Pushing Xavi's face in an El Clásico. So,
Yeah.
and
No,
if I'm not
and it's
wrong,
like, Ramos and PK were the centre back partnership for Spain for quite a good amount of time. And they were also the captains of the El Clasico for some time. So I don't think that the England 2005 kind of shit happens at Spain because they've been used to it. Because Spanish national team has always been Madrid and Barca players mainly. 95% it's Barca plus Madrid players. That 5% also has happened only recently. Till 5 years ago, it was probably 99% with one player from somewhere else. So the point is they're kind of used to it. They'll be at each other's throats in the El Clasico and during the season. Then come to the international break, and I'm not saying they'll be best friends with each other or something, but when they have to play for the team, they'll probably play for the team. It's not like we talk about 2005 England where Paul Scholes, Steven Gerrard, and all these people were just had ego clashes with each other and could not play as a team for England. I don't think that happened in Spain that much.
No, but my only concern here is that he could have very well done this differently, is what I feel. And this is not the first
no,
time. I don't know if you
Lamine or
guys.
Carvajal? Are you
Carvajal.
talking about Lamine?
No,
Both of them would have done it differently.
no, but with respect to Carvalho, he did the same thing. I don't know if you guys remember when Madrid played Arsenal, I think in the away leg at Bernabeu, Carvalho didn't play, right? It was halftime. Saka was going to the tunnel. He just called up to Saka. They almost had a flare up. And the only reason I point here is you are older. You're supposed to be the more experienced guy. But
no.
like
See,
lashing out
okay,
at a kid.
to
And the reason I say this is because it's actually blown out in Spain. Like news outlets like Marca
Yeah,
and
yeah.
they just
I was
they
following those
Kaushik,
news
Kaushik,
like
come on. You're talking about Barca. You have been in Spain for long enough to
yeah.
not treat Barca as a serious piece of
No,
journalism. Come
my
on,
my
bro.
point is there's just been too much of pressure on a kid, and even though I
okay.
agree maybe
I'll
he's arrogant and all of that, but it's just like unfair, right?
no, no,
Against him.
I'll tell you what was the turning point that happened firstly. Dude, if I'm not wrong, I'm just telling this from my side of
Yeah.
like how I would say this thing, but I think a lot of Real Madrid fans will agree on this part. So you see, the interview which Yamal gave, I don't think Madrid fans had a problem where he says something like something on on the lines of what was the score last time I played there? It was 4-0 and I scored. And I don't think it's
Oh,
going to be
you're
difficult.
talking
I
about the
don't think that
cheating.
I don't yeah, I think the second part where you go public to an interview and tell that yeah they cheat and complain, I think that was the point where it started like triggered for Madrid fans.
Okay.
And the second aspect of what, if I'm not wrong, triggered a response from Courtois, triggered a response from Mini was that the moment Carvajal told the response which Carvajal first told was you talk too much,
Yeah.
and I think it ended there. It was Yamal who told yeah come to the tunnel let's go and
Yeah.
do it there, which showed that Yamal was like I still feel that even a lot of
He
people right
doesn't
now
back
feel
down.
it doesn't
Yeah.
like I think it too much of arrogance at this age. I mean, I get it, he's still 18. You have to like leave this kid alone. All that's fine. But I think when you're playing in Bernabeu, it's the El Clásico that you're talking about. I think
Yeah. Also, yeah, go on.
in this scenario, Yamal reacting that way was probably, I don't think
Yeah,
it
also
was
I think,
right.
with Yamal, it's like, no one is denying his talent. No one is denying that he probably can be one of the good players, great players, time to come. But we talk about can be and not is because we have seen so many instances of players going astray after having a great start to their career. For every Rooney, and to be fair, even Rooney was over by 30 because he played so much at 17. For every for every Messi or every Ronaldo or whatever, there is. Let's not even talk about Neymar. Neymar, everything apart, did have a decent, successful career, man. Okay, there are case other. There is an Ansu Fati. There is a Jadon Sancho. There are multiple cases where Neymar is ending up like Neymar is not even actually a bad thing. But you have a thing where you could end up being nowhere in 5 years. You do not. I'm not saying Lamine will end up in nowhere in 5 years. I don't. I think he's too talented for that. But I think even Barca fans agree to this. That Lamine has to. I'm not saying stop talking, but he needs to see where he has to talk what. Yeah, he's 17. At 17, I didn't know where to talk where. But unfortunately for him, he is one probably right now the most important player or the most followed player or most in spotlight player at Barcelona. Okay, so I'm not. You need to have some kind of restraint there. He's a kid. He'll learn. I think the issue is if you look at Pedri or Gavi, they had people around them to guide them for that. Okay, Lamine unfortunately does not have a father figure, so it's a proper father figure in that sense, right? Who can talk about how to approach
As
this.
the sorry.
I mean, how much, bro? That is different, right? Pedri and
Yeah.
Gavi were technically
Yeah.
adopted by the team, right? So I think there's a bit of direction required for the kid. He is a kid at the end of the day, but as Karthik said, there are points where he does cross. I won't say cross a line, but there's a point after which he has to realize there will be a people replying back to him. You can't cry then that how I'm a kid, why are people replying to me, right? That can only work till an extent. Once you cross a certain respect, you cannot use I'm too young. Okay, yes, he is 17, but it's not as if he's dumb and he does not know what he's doing. Okay, when
And
he
it's
said that line, even at 17 or 18, he can comprehend what the reaction would be. Right? I get it. He's just looking up the rivalry, but then don't later cry about, I get attacked this much, that much.
No, but
So,
yeah, but Vibhas, the thing is, it's not the first time, right? I think he's immune to it. Like, I mean, he has done this before, where he's posted
listen,
stories and
he should
then
not be
just
immune to it at
yeah
17. That's my
exactly
point.
yeah,
like, and I think he learned his lesson after like three times. Like, if I'm not wrong,
he
he did the
didn't
same. He did the same before the
exactly.
Nations League finals.
Yes,
He told that he respects Ronaldo, but he's going to like prove that he told something on these lines. His job is to go and win it here, and I think he didn't do it well there. And these are instances I feel that again, like I get it. At the end of the day, every opponent, the whole star or the key player there has been doing things. If I'm not wrong, Ronaldo did the same once with Barcelona. He told Barca scored 8. Let me see if they score half, and Barca trashes 5-0. I agree.
Yeah.
But the whole point is, I think
Uh,
the line that I think crossed, like the statement he made, which is they cheat and complain.
yeah.
I think that was the triggering point for every Madrid fan. And I think probably that's the same for every Madrid player as well. Because if I'm not wrong, I think there is this clip that has been going on Instagram where there will be this ball that goes on the outside line and it's near the manager's line and Vinicius just kicks the ball right on Yamal for the throw in. So I think these are all the scenes where
Yeah,
people
it
start.
also, Ronaldo, as I said, Ronaldo has done this. Messi has indirectly done this and all that. But they did it after a point. They were not doing it at 17.
Exactly.
The thing is, it's not bad to have an ego in sport, but you need to back up. You need to have back up your ego with your play, right? And at 17, how much can you do that? In the sense that, when you talk about Ronaldo is so egoistic, yeah, he can be egoistic. He's won 5 UCLs. Messi is egoistic. He's won whatever amount of Ballon d'Ors he's won. Like we talk about in cricket, Virat Kohli's ego at one point was his strength. Now, when he was not doing so good, people are like, "Oh my God, he's so egoistic." So, you have to realize it's not wrong having an ego, but if you're not performing, that's going to bite you back.
And I
So
think
it's fine.
Ronaldo and Messi started like I agree with Buzz whatever he told. So not wrong. Ronaldo's first egoistic statement I saw was after like 2006 2007 where he started to like get it. He established himself for straight up 4 years in the Premier League. Messi established him straight up for the next 5 years. And
Yeah,
talking about drift, which Sharma mentioned in the Spain league, I think certain things which Yamal did last year also didn't wasn't received well in the Barcelona atmosphere as well. Like if I'm not wrong, if you guys have noticed Yamal's certain goals, he does the celebration like this, which might like it might not
Rafinha is
mean
not apparently a fan of the celebration from what we have seen. So yeah.
exactly, but the whole thing is it creates a rift, just like how it creates in Madrid. I think the same can also happen in Barcelona with the statements being made like this.
Yeah, that's an issue because especially Hansi Flick is a coach who does not, go for a superstar culture as such. So yeah, that can be a problem from that point of view also because Hansi Flick is not known to be like, yeah, you are the superstar of this team. So yeah,
Yeah, but I still feel like Yamal won't stop. Means this posts will keep coming. But the only difference is if he's able to back it up, then he'll probably become better.
see, in
But after,
general,
yeah,
my issue with Yamal is, not just the statements he makes. If you look at all the Twitter things that come out about him, his lifestyle and everything, yeah, bro, he's a kid who got money. He's gonna live his life and everything. But we have seen other people just waste away their life. Okay, I'm not saying that he's gone or something, but okay, let's come back to Neymar, right? Neymar had the potential to be on the level of Ronaldo and Messi. The reason he is one level below is because of his own decisions, right?
yes,
And now I'm not talking about leaving Barcelona. Even after he left Barcelona, his first 2 seasons at PSG were great. Okay, till 2020, the year they lost that final to Bayern in COVID season UCL final. Till that season, Neymar was balling even at PSG. I think after that he kind of gave up or whatever he did, and it was coming even in his youth days. He had this lifestyle, but he could manage it. But once you start crossing 30, you cannot do that simultaneously, right? So at the end of the day, longevity comes to athletes who maintain a certain lifestyle, be it Messi, be it Ronaldo, be it anyone else, right? Wayne Rooney was over by 30, right? Despite all that insane amount of potential, because at the end of the day, in his own words, he was an alcoholic. So I'm not saying Yamal is an alcoholic. He's 17, legally he can't drink, but let's not go there. My point being that I don't know where that guidance comes from, but somewhere it has to come from that, bro, you're great. It's good you have money at this point, but you have to rein yourself in a little. So I'm not talking about the PR. I'm talking about the genuine impact of all these activities, all this lifestyle on him. So yeah.
okay. Now we have less than 10 minutes, so let's just talk about the topics we missed. Karthik, do you think you're going to win the league? Because you have a 5 point advantage over Barcelona and probably Atletico 8 or 9 points. So
No, see again, like it's too soon to say that because we were in the same position last year, if I'm not wrong. Like after like the 15th game week, we had like
oh
around like an
yes,
8 point lead, and then
yes,
yeah, we flopped big time. I wouldn't say that we will win this year for sure. But I think like whatever we have spoken in this meet majorly, the high line of Barcelona, which has already been used for almost this is the second year running, and a high line which has been introduced in Madrid for after a very very long time. I think it is going to take teams to get adapted to this high line of Madrid. A high press from Madrid, firstly, is very surprising, like I told, because we were playing with Modric, Cruz, and Casemiro for a while, and after Casemiro also we had Valverde, and all of these. Valverde is someone who can high press, but I don't think it's possible to high press with just one player in your midfield. So teams now seeing Madrid press high is something really interesting, and I think it will take some time for teams to get used to it. But again, this might backfire when certain teams play in a defensive approach and counter us, which essentially happened in the Atletico Madrid match. Atletico
See,
sat and countered every time.
yeah.
Julian Alvarez killed us.
The rule of football, as we know, is that teams will figure you out, and that is what's happening with Liverpool. By the way, if you might have noticed, Kaushik, Slot has made these statements about how last season we were getting this much space, we could create this much chances, and now
Yes,
teams are,
his
as
statement about
as
the
Karthik said,
long
teams are now
balls.
sitting back. So what happened last year was everyone thought Slot is a new coach. He will take time to get adapted. Let's just play free flowing football against him. Who cares? We use that to our advantage, right? We use that to our advantage so big that by Feb we had practically won the league, right? But if you see, our downturn in form started back in after March itself. This, we talk about Salah's downturn in form, it was Liverpool's downturn in form actually. I know we had technically won the league, but you still, I'm talking about the style of play and everything. That is because after 10 months or 9 months of seeing Slot playing, and people realize that, oh no, he's actually doing something with his team. It's not, we can't just sit back. Oh, sorry, we can't just play free flowing football against them. We'll have to sit back. And as soon as teams, if you look at this season, all our games except one, no, all our games actually, technically 80% of the times we are playing against, if not a low block, but a mid low block. Okay, there are times we're playing with a very shit low block, but even the times when it's not a low block, it's not an open play. I'm not saying teams should just open it for us. Obviously, no one's going to do that. But I think, yeah, my point here being teams get used to their opponents. Your style of play does get figured out. Now, the hallmark of a good coach obviously is to adapt to that. That, you know, what I've been doing for 6 months, it's working great, but now teams are figuring out what can I do now. That's what the great coaches do well. That's what Alex Ferguson did. That's what Pep did. That's what Klopp did. That's what Ancelotti did till a point did till like 2 years ago. Okay, so yeah, it's all about how teams figure out the Madrid and how Madrid adapt to that, and that applies to every team in the world. But I'm talking about Madrid because they're leading the league right now. If you look at Premier League, Arsenal are leading the league right now, but I'm not talking about Liverpool's chances, but I think Arsenal leading is still shaky. I know there's no technically they have a good lead, but I don't know, man. Arsenal are top, but they've never been convincing to me. Their defense is great, but from an attack point of view, they've never been convincing to me. So, and
Yeah,
Chelsea is
but
doing Chelsea things, Kaushik. I don't know what Chelsea is doing. Uh,
yeah, but this is something that I always firmly believe. You don't win the league with the best attack, you win the league with the best defense. So if they somehow manage to like just shut out opposition and score one odd goal,
See,
they still win the
I
match.
unlike the Twitter banter, I'm not going to say, set piece FC. How can, if they
Yeah.
continue to win with that, great for them. I just don't feel that they can be set piece FD for 38 matches,
Yeah.
but they are scoring more open play goals in the recent last two,
No,
three
but
matches. So
I
they're
mean,
getting there too.
bro, end of the season, if 30 games they won 1-0 with one goal from a corner
No,
or
no,
a free kick, no one's gonna
I'm not
be.
saying that
Yeah.
that will not be a legit victory. I
No,
just
no,
don't think that in
I'm
2025 that's
agreeing with you. Yeah.
sustainable. That's a sustainable way
Yeah.
to win. I don't think that. I think that will catch up to them. But if it doesn't, and they manage to win it that way of 2004 Marino or something, that's kudos to them. I just feel that 2025 it might not happen. The style of play is very different. But I think I read a article in the Athletic that the style of the play for whatever 10 matches have been in this season, especially in the Premier League, it's been kind of a throwback to the era of 2004, 2005, 2006. I think after 10 matches, it's been the least amount of number of goals scored in the Premier League. after 10 matches for each team in the last 10-15 years. Basically, since Pep. Post Pep, this has been the least amount of goals that's been scored in the Premier League after every team has played 9 or 10 matches. So I think this season has been more pragmatic. It could be for multiple reasons. Maybe because teams have injuries from the Club World Cup and the last season, big ass season. It could be because people are adapting to the high line as people, because Pep has been figured out, for example, right? Pep is also not doing that well. So we don't know. So,
Oh yeah,
Kaushik,
speaking.
what do you think about Chelsea?
Yes, exactly. So speaking of injuries, for me, I believe Enzo Maresca is an amazing coach because unlike certain coaches, he kind of adapts to the opposition almost every single time. This season, he's not got his substitutions spot on, and at certain matches, it's been baffling.
Also, you have a fetish for red cards.
Yes, that is also there. But the problem with the Sunderland game is he subbed out Achiampong, who had an amazing game. Maybe he probably could have got injured. I don't know. There was an injury scare or something, so it makes sense. But bro, he subbed him with Tosin, who I don't know if you guys saw the game. The last play, bro, the 7 seconds felt like 70 minutes or something. It just stands still. Like the people in the background, you could see no one was reacting. There was the Sunderland player holding the ball, 2 defenders. It's like chess. Like there's a horse, there's a queen, there's a rook. Both the queen and rook are just standing.
Yeah,
You know
it's
the
like,
horse is going to
I
kill
think
one. Yeah. You know,
his subs this season have been subpar, so to say, because even if I remember telling you about the United game, the United game after red card, those subs were atrocious.
No,
That's one example.
backside, right? Imagine if you had those 3 players that, okay, you subbed off one winger, I get it. You had the other 2. When United went,
he subbed off everyone.
Yeah.
Every attacker bar one.
You know why? Because in his mind, he thought that it's going to become worse. United will score 4 or 5. So there's going to be a lot of workload for these players.
See, that is fine if you are in the second half. It was like at the beginning of the match. You can't shut shop within 5 minutes.
And bro, the moment United went to 10 men, I knew like we fucked up in the first place. Fine, like, yeah, that, and I knew it was going to be difficult to come back. We somehow managed to score a goal, but it was just not enough. But anyways, we're not winning the league. I don't think Liverpool's winning the league. So
I think Arsenal will win the Premier League. I think Madrid will win the La Liga.
Yes.
And I hope United do not win another match and make it 5 in a row. But okay.
It's 4 in a row. We're yet to go to 5.
Hope that guy does not get a haircut, man.
Also, guys, I think how many more minutes we have, Kaushik?
Less than a minute.
Oh,
we can do something.
I think not gonna do that. Probably I can. I think it's time.
He doesn't have the 15. He doesn't have the 15.
No, we have the 15. I think.
That's your Club World Cup. Okay. I thought you were gonna